Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary and today's video is going to be my August TBR.
I should've told you that I loved you one more time.
And if you're new to this channel, then you might not know, but every single month I play Sorry to pick my TBR for the month, and the way it works is the first card that I draw will be the number of books that I'm going to read, and then every card after that will tell me how many spaces to move. If I land on a Sorry, then I add another card to the stack and I have to read another book that month. In August, I am planning on participating in 2 readathons, which is a little ambitious because they're going on at the same time. So they're both 2-week-long readathons for the first 2 weeks of the month. The first is the Enneagram Readathon, and I took the little Enneagram test, and I am a 5, so I'm going to be on Team 5 for that. And the second is the Avatar: The Last Airbender Readathon, and I've chosen to be on Team Water for that. So if you're participating in either of those readathons, you can let me know in the comments down below, and I'm hoping that some of these prompts that I picked for my Sorry game will also fit really well within the prompts for the readathons that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to link some of the creators. Both of these readathons have several hosts to them, so I'm not going to link everybody, but I will link the hosts whose videos that I watched in the description box down below, and they will have more information about the readathon for you if you're interested. Without further ado, let's pull up the first cards. Okay, so we're starting on Friend Recommends with a yellow, because that's where we started or stopped last time. And we're going to be reading 7 books this month. Move forward 3. 500 pages. So the first card that I pulled was a 7, which means I'm going to be reading 7 books this month. And the first space that I landed on was 500 plus pages. So for this, I'm planning on reading Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, which is the second book in the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy, which is a fantasy series about this world where the magic system revolves around metals and who can ingest what metals to get what powers, and the people who can ingest all of the metals and have all of the powers are called the Mistborn. I'm supposed to be reading the first book in July, and I'm doing this video about a week before it goes up, so I'm hoping that I get to, or I'm sorry, a week before the end of the month. So I'm hoping that I can get to reading the first book. If not, I'll read that for this prompt instead, but I'm being ambitious here and saying that I'm gonna finish Mistborn and start with the Well of Ascension in August. Move forward to Paranormal. The second prompt that I landed on was Paranormal, and for this I'm going to be reading Death in the Park by London Lovett, which is the first book in a cozy mystery series. I believe the first book only is free on Kindle Unlimited, and the other books are relatively inexpensive. So this series essentially follows a woman who is moving to a small town called Firefly Junction to open a bed and breakfast and be closer to her sisters. And then there's some sort of mysterious death that happens. I read in the synopsis that there is paranormal aspects, but I don't know what the paranormal thing is, but I'm going to read this for this prompt, and this is actually perfect because it fits into both the other readathons that I'm doing. So for the Avatar: The Last Airbender readathon, this fits the prompt of reading a book with a sibling relationship because she's moving to be closer to her sisters, so I'm hoping there's some sort of sisterly relationship thing going on. And for the Enneagramathon, this is going to fit the prompt of reading a mystery/thriller because it is a cozy mystery. Move forward 2 again. Manga/comic. The third prompt that I landed on was to read a manga or a comic, and for this I'm going to be reading Pumpkinheads by Rowell, which is a graphic novel. I believe it's just a standalone, and it's set around fall time and this pumpkin patch, and the main characters I think are high school seniors, and they always work at this pumpkin patch together, but this is going to be their last chance before they both go away to college. And so it's like, I think it follows their romance. I'm not entirely sure. This got a lot of hype 2 years ago, I think, in the fall. And I'm really excited to read it now. I usually start getting into the fall mood in early August, so I'm like prepping myself for fall at this point. You can see my sweater. I'm only wearing this because it was really cold in my apartment when I got home. But anyways, I'm very excited to read this graphic novel finally, and I'm also excited to have something shorter on this TBR. Sorry, so we're gonna add a card. Sorry, so we're gonna add another card. Move forward 5. A classic. And then I drew 2 sorries, which means I'm gonna be reading 9 books instead of 7 books this month.
It was very traumatic for all of us.
Which is okay, still, that's not terrible. But, yeah. I've been doing pretty well with not getting a sorry the last couple of months. So, I was due for one, I just didn't realize there would be two right next to each other. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a classic. And for this, I am planning on reading Les Miserables by Victor Hugo, which, as you can see, is over 1,000 pages long. Victoria, over at A Musical Bookworm, is hosting a read-along of this right now, and I'm behind. What else is new? So I'm planning on trying to get through a good chunk of it this month. Again, I still have about a week before the end of the month. I haven't started yet, but I'm hopeful that I will be able to read some of it, and I'm going to try to catch up and read where they are so that I can read with them as they're reading this. How many times can I say the word read? But yes, this is very chunky. All I know about this really is from what I've seen in the movie and the play adaptation of this. But essentially, I believe it follows a man, Jean Valjean, when he gets out of prison. And I think he's trying to find his family. I don't really know.
This is so sad. Alexa, play Despacito.
Now that I'm talking about it, I realize that I don't actually know anything about what this is about. I'm excited to read this. As a former theater kid, I feel like it's time. But yeah, I'm also a little nervous. Move forward 7. YA fantasy. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a YA fantasy, and for this I'm going to be reading Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yee, which is actually the group read for the Avatar: The Last Airbender readathon, and I don't really know anything about what this is. I think it's a novelization based on Avatar. I'm not sure. I know it's a YA fantasy, and I know it's the group read, so I'll count it for that. And I'm also going to count it in the Enneagram Readathon as a book with a female protagonist. So, very excited about this one. I don't know anything about it.
Are you not ashamed of yourself?
Move forward 11. A book that is a movie. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a book that is also a movie, or a book that has a movie adaptation. And for this, I'm going to be reading Emma by Jane Austen, which, from what I understand, is about this woman, Emma, who is so wealthy that she doesn't need to worry about finding a husband for herself, but she decides to take some poor girl in her town, or in her, I think on her staff maybe? I'm not really sure about that, under her wing, and remodel her, revamp her, to then present her to male suitors. But I think this also follows kind of Emma's love story with someone. I'm not entirely sure. I know the movie Clueless is based on this, and I like the movie Clueless, so we'll see. But I am reading this as a part of the book club that I'm hosting, which is the Jane Austen Book Club. It's all of 2021, and every other month we are reading one of Jane Austen's published works in publication date order. So our August book is Emma. If you would like to join us, please feel free. We always do a live at the end of the month that we read the book, so sometime at the end of August, me and hopefully some of the other ladies will get together and we will do a live discussion of how we felt about Emma. Move forward 7. Book that's less than 150 pages. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a book that is less than 150 pages, and I'm going to say The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin for this, which I know I was supposed to read in July, during Summerween.
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
Unfortunately, I did not get to this during Summerween, but it's very short. It's an essay collection. If you missed my last TBR, this is 2 essays written in the form of letters by James Baldwin 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation about race relations in the United States. It's a very important book. I've heard it's really powerful, and I'd really like to read it so that I can start my James Baldwin reading experience, because he's got a lot of stuff that I'm really interested in reading. Move forward 3. Fantasy. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a fantasy, and for this I'm going to be reading The Pisces by Melissa Broder. Yes. Who is the person behind the Twitter account So Sad Today. I don't know if you were on Twitter in like 2016, but she was really big back then. But this is her, I think, debut novel, because I think she's released 1 or 2 poetry collections before this, but I've never read them. But this book follows a girl who I think has just completed her PhD or is in the process of completing her PhD, and she for some reason falls in love with a fish, or a person who turns into a fish or something. I've heard that this is pretty bizarre, but also I've heard good things about it, so I'm interested to read this. I don't really know that much about what the actual plot is, but I'm interested to see how that sort of concept plays out. And this is going to count for the Avatar The Last Airbender Readathon as a book with a blue cover. Sometimes next to like true blue, this looks kind of green, but next to like green, it looks blue. I'm counting it as blue. I thought it was blue, and it's occurred to me now that it's like a mint greeny blue, but I'm going to say it's blue, so.
It turned blue. It's not even a cool blue.
Move forward 1. Sci-fi. The next prompt that I landed on was to read a science fiction book, and for this I'm actually going to be reading another graphic novel. I'm going to be reading the first volume in the Descender series by, who wrote that? Jeff Lemire? I don't know how that's pronounced, but this is free with Amazon Prime, which I have, so I'm going to just read it for free, and if I enjoy it, I will consider purchasing more installments in the series. But from what I understand, it follows a boy who is an android, or like an android boy.
The poison for Cusco, the poison chosen specially to kill Cusco, Cusco's poison.
And he lives in a world where androids are illegal and they're being bounty hunted. I'm not sure if he's like a humanoid enough android to try to fit into human societies. I'm also going to use this to fulfill the prompt for the Avatar The Last Airbender Readathon, a book with a moon on the cover, because there is a moon on the cover. I wish I had it to show you, but I don't, so. And those are all 9 cards that I drew for the game this round. I do have 2 additional books that are tentatively going on my TBR, and I say tentatively because I'm on a wait list for both of them from my library. So I mentioned this before, my library has a couple of different apps that I can use, and most of the apps have ebooks and audiobooks. I'm on the wait list for an ebook and an audiobook of both of these next 2 books on every app that my library uses. I hope that makes sense. The first one is One by One by Ruth Ware, which is a closed circle mystery set on a snow retreat that I think it's a bunch of coworkers and they start dying off one by one. I've heard really mixed reviews of this one. Some people really love it, some people really, really hate it. So I'm interested to see what side of the line I fall on for this as well. And this I'm planning on reading for the prompt, a book set in a snowy setting, which is for the Avatar The Last Airbender Readathon. And also, I think this has multiple points of view, so I'm tentatively going to be using it for the prompt multiple points of view for the Enneagram Readathon. If it doesn't have multiple points of view, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I don't know that I have another book that would work for that, but we'll see. Then the next book that I'm tentatively reading is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, which is the group book for the Enneagram Readathon. This is a new release. I knew that the waitlist was going to be long. The waitlist is like 5 to 18 weeks. So I'm hopeful that somebody will just blast through it, or a couple people will just blast through it really quickly and then I'll get it faster, but we'll see. If I don't get my hands on that one, it's not the end of the world. So I'll just read it when I can get my hands on it. That is the 11th and final book that I have tentatively placed on my TBR. These are just the books that I own that I have on this TBR. Additionally, we have 2 graphic novels and 4 more books. So I have quite the stack to get through this month. I'm hopeful that I can do it. I have my last week of my internship starting in August, or I guess my last like 10 days. And then I am going to my parents' house because my niece is going to be there. So I am planning on vlogging for the readathons that I'm doing. We'll see if that actually happens, because we all know that when I say I'm going to vlog something, I don't always do it. But I am hopeful that I will get some vlogs up, or some vlog content, even if it's just one shorter vlog for both the 2 weeks, just so I can like explain how I felt about things. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you would like to, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do post 2 videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! No. Come here. No whining. Don't step on the game. Oh, baby. Go lay down. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. Come on. Over here. No. No, honey. Murph. How am I supposed to do this now? Huh? What are you doing?
I should've told you that I loved you